Hi guys, and welcome back to another video of your Besthetician podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the top 5 myths as a licensed esthetician. So the first one I want to talk about is going into the aesthetics field is easy money. This is completely not true. There is so much that goes into it. A lot of people think that when they jump into it, they're going to leave their spot and make millions or, thousands, of course, but this is truly not the case.
Yeah, there's a few things here that I think are really important when going from fresh out of school or leaving a med spa. And I think that's one of the reasons why, we do really recommend working for somebody else first. I know it's not for everybody, but the knowledge that you gain working for somebody else, like a med spa or even another esthetician, you're also understanding like how the business is working a little bit. Mm-hmm. And if you actually do want to go solo, and we never did. When you work for med spa, the idea was never to go solo, but I cared a lot and I was really curious about everything of like what the profit margins were, just because like we also want to be the business to be profitable and us make good money. So understanding that, so then we were had a healthy relationship with the spa. But yeah, when you go solo, you don't know. I think all the back end money that is spent on devices and rents and utilities and products, all those little things that I think Rachel talked about this. Skin Solutions by Rachel talked about this a long time ago, is that $100,000 a year as a solo esthetician is not profiting $100,000 a year. And we realized that really quickly when we hit our first, $10,000 a month and looked at the bank account and went, why is there not $10,000 here? And realizing that all the expenses that goes out, it's not like when you work for another company and you make $100,000 a year. It's not your take home. You pay taxes, of course, but you're actually making $100,000 a year. Whereas an esthetician, there's a lot. There can be a decent amount of overhead when it comes to products and things like that. Just rent as a studio alone in some cities right now, it gets pretty crazy.
Totally.
Some people are paying up to $2,000 a month for rent, which is insane, pretty wild, right? But yeah, I think that's a big one. Understanding it going into it is that it's a long game, right? It's the consistency matters. You're not going to jump right in and start hitting $10,000 months. And even when you hit $10,000 months, you'll realize it's not as much money as you thought it was.
And I want to circle back to the first point that you made really quickly, because I want to just touch on the fact that truthfully, I would not be where I'm at today if I didn't work for somebody else. Now, I highly suggest you finding somebody that maybe you work with that is kind of like your mentor. That's what happened with me. I learned so much through just working with other people, finding people that I connected with, just really digging to find out more. And you have to be assertive. You have to put yourself out there and you have to push yourself. So for instance, I started at a front desk position at a med spa, and that's how I got into, I was already an esthetician, but I wanted to get into more advanced treatments. So I started at a front desk position. I pushed my way through the door. When there was an opening, they didn't want to hire me for that position, but I put myself out there and I didn't give up. I didn't say no. So you can't just expect things to just fall out and align for you. You have to do the work. And I think that's where, again, the mindset of quote unquote easy money is so false, because we're not going into this to right off the bat make money. And that's where you're constantly reinvesting in your business. Chris just said we made, our first month we made 10,000, but truthfully, we're like, what the heck? We only have $2,000 left. When we have to pay our own bills. So it is a long-term investment, and you have to figure out what your monthly expenses are, of course. And truthfully, retail orders, those are pretty big chunks of my income that I have to spend at a time. And then obviously we make that back, but it doesn't always feel good in the beginning when you're building and you have to place these bigger retail orders. And then that's why I say, just really quickly, is make sure that whatever you're carrying when you first start have a purpose for your product. So you may not have it completely figured out in the beginning, but that's okay. But at least just have good, solid skincare, have a good treatment, have good products for basic everyday wear, or maybe one targeted serum that is a common concern for most people. So you'll figure it out as you go. It's not just success overnight. And that's what we want to just reiterate on.
Yeah. And I want to touch on one point, because I was just thinking as we went on to working for a med spa first, and this is a little bit of a tangent, and then we'll move on to the next myth. But when it comes to you going out and working for a med spa, we've had this question a lot, and people are like, nobody wants to hire us, and med spas want to sign these contracts. And I think the biggest thing that you go into after getting out of school and understanding the importance of going to work for a med spa is you need to provide value for that spa. And if you don't want them to take advantage of you or lock you you into a 5-year contract, you need to add a lot of value to them. You can't come in there and mooch off of all their information, everything they want to teach. They want to build you up and help you become profitable for you to leave. And that's what's created so much headache in this aesthetic space, is that so many estheticians, they go into that med spa going like, oh, I'm going to leave as soon as I build a clientele and as soon as I learn these things. And it's okay that maybe you want to leave. And I know it kind of sucks that you can't be honest and tell an employer like, hey, I don't want to be here for 5 years. But while you're there, provide value to them, let them become profitable, make sure that company is making money off you as they should. They're giving you a chance to learn and be under them and not take the risk. So then when you go to leave, there's less saltiness, there's less anger from them, because they're like, hey, when they were here, and I hope that the first med spa you worked at, when you left, they didn't go, all she ever did was take. And we didn't go solo after you left either. You worked for another spa because they let you go. But either way, the time that you had there, you provided a lot of value to that business. Even when you were up front, you worked really hard. You were patient when the position opened up. You were patient when they wanted to train you. When it was like, well, we'll train you 1 day a week. You said, okay, I'll wait. I'll train 1 day a week. I'll take whatever I can get. So you just provide a lot of value to them, so they didn't feel like you were so taking. But yeah, we'll move on from there, just because I felt like if people are hearing us say like, go work at a med spa first, they might go like, well, it's so hard right now.
I really want to make a quick point though. So I know that we may not have it figured out completely in school, but I want to just say, start with your social media, start with like figuring out what you love to do while you're in aesthetic school. So start posting, start editing. This is like the time where truthfully you have so much time on your hands, in my opinion. I mean, it may not feel like that in the moment, but comparison to when you get a job or if you go, whenever you open up your own business, this is the most time that you have to figure it out. So
trial and error.
I mean, just focus on like editing reels and practicing social media, how you're wording, how your sales are, things like that. But yeah, just want to touch on that really quickly. So we'll go into the next topic.
The next point is estheticians only do facials, right? And I think this we can cross it across everywhere, because you could say estheticians only do waxing, right? Estheticians only do lashes or brows.
I think this is a common thought from from like the consumer. Estheticians only, which luckily I feel like estheticians are getting more praise for being more treatment based and providing solutions for skin.
It's an uphill battle though, because you're fighting against dermatologists and you're fighting against what estheticians were for a long time, and they were kind of this really niche in society where a lot of them were just doing waxing.
But you go to just a spa, get a relaxing facial.
Because I saw something the other day. I saw a comedian on TikTok. He was doing like crowd work, and he said like, what do you do for work? And she was like, I'm an esthetician. And he's like, oh, so you wax vaginas? Like that was like his immediate, because that's what his thought process was. And you know what she said? Yes, that's what I do. So I'm like, oh, so even him as a man, his general idea of an esthetician was a waxer, right? Somebody who waxes hair. And so it made me just go like, oh wow, there's still so much of society. I mean, this TikTok was blown up as well. And I'm like, that's every person who watches it is still going to correlate aesthetics with waxing, right? Which I think is, and it's not everywhere across the board, but I think general house to house, if I tell a man walking up the street, my wife's an esthetician, his brain's probably going to think you're a waxer, right? That's kind of like, he's not thinking, oh, she's an acne or skincare specialist.
And I've personally had a lot of people who I tell I'm an esthetician, and they're like, oh, so you do brows, you do lashes. I'm like, no, I don't. Please do not ever ask me to do those services. That's not the type of esthetician that I am. So I mean, it's a lot of not misjudging, but it's
misconceptions.
Misconceptions and preconceived ideas of what an esthetician is. So whoever you are as an esthetician, make sure you make that clear on your Instagram of what type of esthetician that you are. If you're an esthetician, you're an acne expert, an anti-aging specialist.
And that's why it's important to niche down. And we've done a lot of videos on niching down. In our last video, go watch that if you haven't already, the last podcast. But that was the importance of niching down, because the aesthetic space is so big. If you come out and say, I'm an esthetician, people are looking for, oh, well, I have acne. Does an esthetician that does waxes help me with acne? Right. So being very specific, like I'm an anti-aging esthetician, I'm an acne esthetician, right? So people you just help it out, because I mean, when you're in this little world of aesthetics, it can be a little bit of an echo chamber where you think like, oh yeah, everybody gets it. And you realize like, oh wait, when I'm out of this bubble and I'm in the real life, most people don't get it and they don't understand. If your dad doesn't understand you and you try to explain what you do, you're doing something wrong. You need to simplify how you're explaining things and how people can find you and book with you.
Number 3 is going to be aesthetics is just about looks and the aesthetic. I think that there's a lot of trendy things about, I guess, glass skin and, you know, you're going to leave your facial, which you do leave with glowy, dewy skin. But, I mean, it's not just about looks. Aesthetics is about home care. It's about your treatments. It's about everything in between that goes with your profession. So it's something that we always like. I feel like a lot of people think like, oh yeah, aesthetics is just about like the way that you look and how your skin is. It's like, no, there's so much more that goes into it. If you struggle with acne, you know, it's not about just, you know, looks, if that makes sense.
Exactly. And I think this is where, as the aesthetic industry, if
which
everyone
I love
can,
how we're normalizing, like that breakouts are normal, like in society.
And if we can push forward those thoughts and ideas that it's not just about the looks, but it's about skin health, it also helps estheticians solidify themselves as just as important as dermatologists, you know, not in every way, but as far as understanding the skin and skin health as a whole. And the more we push into when you come in for a treatment, you are glowing and relaxed, and that's all you get in aesthetics. It makes more people getting out of the bubble again think that if you actually want your skin to be healthier, you have to go to a dermatologist. You have to be on prescription medication or prescription, you know, whatever it may be. And I think the importance of us as a collective in the aesthetics community pushing forward that, no, we are here for skin health. Yes, you can leave your appointment with glowing skin. That's not always the case. I mean, you do perfect derma peel. We did one the other day, and you leave orange, right? So you're not leaving with glowing skin, but in 7 days, she's going to have the best skin she's ever had.
And we just reworded our little phrase that used to be guiding you to glowing skin without makeup, which I feel like is kind of like a trend like right now. I mean, everybody wants glowing skin without makeup, but I feel like that's kind of like, I just want glowing skin without makeup right now. Like it's a trend. You want more natural skin right now. So we changed our wording to like general long-term marketing for, I just want healthy, hydrated skin, which again is the health of the skin and not just like you're always going to have glowy skin, because that's unrealistic for anyone.
Everyone has breakouts. People have seasons they go through. Right. It's not it's all
about healthy skin, guys.
That's the most important. That's what's important to teach in the aesthetics community is that's what you guys are here to do, not just shiny.
And from
skin.
a marketing perspective, we use glowy skin all the time still, but all my page has like a mixture of everything. It has, skin health in the sense of treating somebody's breakouts, somebody right after a hydrofacial. I mean, everybody has different journeys, and that's where you educate your clients, and that's your general marketing right there. Number 4, are you going to?
Yep, it's number 4. Okay, I was just going to jump in if you didn't.
Okay. Number 4 is going to be, you learn everything in aesthetic school, which is completely false, guys. I went to school almost 10 years ago now. And oh my gosh, I did not learn I learned the basics, but you do not learn like in-depth detail. Maybe school is different now.
There's some schools, it seems like, that are doing better at bringing in like microneedling and hydrofacial, that are teaching those things in school. And I'm sure in major cities they're getting a little bit better, but I mean, we've still talked to people that have come out of school within the past year and they're like, I'm lost and confused. And I think one of the biggest things is, if you do want to go open up your own business, that school is not going to teach you or not understand how to teach you is like real marketing and branding and things like that. Is that if you wanted to go solo straight out of school, understanding all the business aspects of it. And I think a lot of schools are trying to do better. I mean, Mariah's out here and she has, what's her school called?
Project Esty.
Project Esty. And it seems like she has a better understanding because was freshly an esthetician, which helps a lot, that she's actually going into the school and teaching, hey, I was just here a couple years ago. I understand what things actually have to get done. And that's what I think is really important. I know not all schools offer that, but even when you get out of school, even if your school does teach you those things, the importance of continuing education in whatever way it may be. And you're still doing this. There's a couple courses and classes this year, like some high-end massage technique courses and classes, things like gua sha.
Tunnel.
Not go too much into it, but for you to understand it. And I think those are really important. If anywhere you can find information online, if it's watching YouTube videos or podcasts like ours, this is the reason why we do this. We're still, I'm trying to better understand aesthetics marketing still. And we've been in business for a few years and we do really well. And I'm not becoming complacent with that.
And speaking of just advanced learning and education and, trying to figure out the business side of things, this is where we teach everything on our Patreon, from protocols to learning marketing your business, business, editing videos, everything socials for your business. So even if you're an aspiring esthetician, you're in school, or you are have your own business, there's literally videos for every single person to learn something. So make sure you subscribe to that. It's in the link below.
Yep. And we try to make this something that's a little bit more affordable for newer estheticians or people who just want to nitpick of, hey, what can Chris and Victoria teach me that they know really well about, say, marketing or SEO, or just Instagram specific. Yeah. So we try to make it something that you can come in, you could stay for a long time. We're dropping so many videos. You're not going to really want to leave once you get in. Most people that are in the Patreon are not leaving because we drop so much new content, and everything that we're learning, we're posting there as we go. We have a banger video coming out this week about Instagram story views, some new information that we've learned and some new tactics that these are, and we've made Instagram story videos, I mean, multiple times now, but as things change, we're updating them as we learn them, which makes this community so unique and different than everywhere else in the space. Yeah. But that was an amazing plug for continuing education. Jump right into our Patreon.
And I just want to make one more point, jumping back to our first topic is, I highly suggest you work for a med spa first. This is why, like, you're going to literally, I mean, unless you're doing the pre-work in school and you feel confident going, but like there's so much to learn when you open up your own business and you go into everything all at once. You're like, oh my gosh, who do I reach out to when I have questions? And that's something that really helped me in the beginning working for other med spas is I had resources of being like, oh my gosh, like, is this a normal reaction in someone's skin? Or how deep should I go with microneedling in this area of the face? If somebody has acne scarring, there is so much that goes into it, guys, that like we may learn the basics in school, but there's so much more to learn once you graduate.
Yeah. And that's an amazing point. I'm just thinking about that again. And I'm like, your first, let's say 2 years after school, well, I can make more money if I went solo, but the knowledge and what you're actually going to be able to bring to the table when you do go solo, it's worth it. I mean, 2 years, it feels like a long time, but you guys know how fast 2 years goes, especially after you graduate high school. Years just like snap by.
And aesthetic school is pretty quick. In my opinion, you can't be an expert in that short of time. Yeah. And there's so many different modalities that you have to learn. Like there's so much more to learn, guys. That's my point.
Yep. And then you can go and watch that med spa and then they say, hey, we're slow this week. And you can go, well, what do you, you could say, what are you guys doing to change that? And they go, oh, well, we're doing this or that. And you could start gathering that information and going, oh, look, they ran an ad like this, that worked. Oh, they did this special. I didn't like that. So now when you go solo, you can skip
or how much
all
they
those
spend
mistakes
on these ads. So you can have realistic expectations.
Yeah. Of what things actually take. And that helped us a lot when we went solo because we've gathered that information from 2 or 3 spas that you worked at, that when we went solo, we had a pretty good idea of what worked and didn't work and what we liked and didn't like. So jumping into the last one, which is a fun topic, and we don't talk about this too much, but the future of aesthetics as a whole. For one, we know the industry is growing like crazy. I don't believe it's oversaturated. I don't think it's going to be oversaturated for a long time. Unfortunately, a lot of aesthetics businesses do close out. They don't make it past that 2-year mark because it's extremely difficult to run your own business by yourself. And I think the industry as a whole, and we've seen it with our clients a lot, is a lot of people are trying to get away from med spas. I think med spas are everywhere and they flood a lot of markets and they're big and they're in your face and they run all these specials. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, and you've had clients come in that go, I didn't want to go to a med spa. They either they are highly against Botox and injectables as a whole. So they want to find somebody who's not going to sell them that, or they didn't like all the advanced procedures. They're like, hey, I want to be with a local business. I want to be with somebody who's going to take me through this journey, somebody I can connect with. I don't want to feel like a number to somebody. Yeah. So I think the future of aesthetics and actual estheticians as a whole has that market is just going to keep on growing. Like we just mentioned, getting all that information out there and letting people know, hey, there's other options when it comes to your acne. Hey, you don't need expensive laser treatments to start anti-aging, right? The teaching home care, and not everything is crazy expensive like when you walk into a med spa.
And I don't think, I mean, maybe there's estheticians because like it is growing, this industry is growing, people are learning more and more even in med spas, but I would say that like majority of people, let's say that somebody has acne, and this is something that I've heard with my clients, is that they did 3 Forever Clear BBL treatments, which is broadband light. They did 3 treatments, it got better, and then it just came back because they're not treating the root cause of the condition. And I think that like, for instance, like that person went there and then they went and saw saw me. And it was a much more personable experience and in-depth of educating my clients. And I always say, like, make sure that you're educating your clients so that they're confident in you. And the way that you speak and have your confidence is going to make that long-term relationship with them. So again, going from a med spa to seeing me, having a more personal experience, getting them on home care so that they understand. A lot of med spas, maybe there's, I mean, it's not the niche. It's not acne specialists. It's not, I mean, it's not.
No, most med spas don't.
And that's just a specific area,
that.
specifically like with acne that I've seen, and not bashing med spas again, but it's just a totally different experience than going on one-on-one with an esthetician.
Yep. So yeah, as a whole, I'm excited about the future of aesthetics. I know every once in a while people freak out. I mean, if the market goes down we can live in fear all we want, but I do see the next 5 years, solo estheticians really growing. I also believe that estheticians that aren't very good will kind of get weeded out. They'll either fall back into the med spa lane or they'll just back out and go find another career choice. I mean, we've all seen that the schools are blowing up and people are like, is it oversaturated? Is there too many people? These solo salon suites are popping up everywhere and giving an opportunity for estheticians to go and thrive. But there's a lot of freaking people out there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people in the world and there's so many areas that have not been tapped into yet. I think even as a whole, like what the aesthetics industry can be for men in the next 5 years. I don't think men are really any target market for almost any spa or med spa. I mean, you can have male clients, but do general men know and do they care? And I think that society is changing in a way for especially younger men, between the ages of 25 and 35 are understanding that and they want to take care of their skin just like they take care of their body.
Make a TikTok,
right?
Sir.
Yeah, I know. I might have to. Yeah, I could be the one to lead the charge.
Yeah.
But those things like that make me excited, right? They make me excited to know that people are interested and there is more male clients getting, interested in this. And then even as far as women go, not all women know that they can go see a small business down the street that can be their personal trainer of the face, right?
Yeah.
And that's the big difference between a med spa and a solo esthetician is that you're going to hold their hand all the way through. A good esthetician will hold their hand all the way through and be that kind of buddy for them, so they don't have to go into a med spa, get thrown $1,000 worth of products and be at home confused and give up after a month.
And if you don't feel confident to like educate your clients and you still feel like there's room to grow, you probably shouldn't be solo.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but like you need time to grow and that's okay. Like if I would have gone solo right off the bat, or if I would have worked at one med spa and then just went solo, I wouldn't have. No, like I had so much more to learn. So, like be confident with where you're at and, maybe you're good at sales and that'll only get you so far. But like, if you don't truly understand skin and what you're doing,
and
people will
eventually,
people eventually catch on. So make sure you're confident and not to scare anybody. But I mean, it's just my personal opinion is don't go into something that you're not confident about.
Exactly.
But yeah, that was our myths for today. 5 top skincare esthetician myths. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.